This is video number 4 on the subject of me taking the polyurethane off of this guitar and finishing it in nitrocellulose. If you've been around the channel before, feel free to skip along. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to give you a brief background on what's going on. So essentially, this is an Epiphone 335 Vigor Top and Raspberry Tea Burst. It obviously doesn't look like that anymore. That's because I made a lot of modifications to it. Instead of going through all those right now, I'm just going to point you to a playlist. If you click on the upper part of the screen, it'll take you to that. It basically contains all the videos I made thus far of these modifications, and I'm adding to it continually. So for example, once this video is done, it will be added to that playlist. The end goal is to make this into something like the Gibson Chris Cornell signature model, one version that came out in 2013 and another that came out in 2019. In this particular video, I'm going to show you how I got the finish off the sides of the guitar. In previous videos, I kind of experimented with some processes and methods. I took the finish off the back first and then the front. And so again, in this video, getting to the sides. So like I said, I'm making a playlist, and the reason I'm splitting all these videos up and sort of making it so long is because I want to spend as much time as necessary to show you the process, sort of warts and all. I will admit I'm no expert. I was kind of making this up as I went along, trying different things, experimenting, but I wanted to show sort of my problem solving methods as I encountered issues, what I did to figure it out. And like I said, show you the good and the bad. And honestly, I haven't seen anybody else on YouTube go to this level of detail documenting the process. There's a lot of videos out there about stripping polyurethane from guitars, but essentially they're all solid body guitars like Strats and Tellies. Nothing like this with binding, let alone a laminate construction. Now there is a guy out there named Dr. Nitro who does this quite a bit with Les Paul guitars. I have seen him do one with a 335 style guitar before, but it was essentially one video and it was more of a montage without getting into too much detail about the process. Now let me quickly say there are some cringe moments in this video, as with most of my videos probably, because again, I'm being honest, but there are no major flaws or issues with this guitar. I'm pretty proud of it for being such an amateur. And so if you're watching these moments and you're thinking, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, I can't watch any more of this, believe me, I figured it out, and in the end, hopefully it's worth the watch. Oh, and I do want to ask, what types of things do you want to see in the next couple of videos? The very next one is probably going to be this. So I have these humbucker sized Filtertrons that I need to put into this guitar. I've had these for a while now. I'm not going to tell you who the manufacturer is, but I did get a little bit of a discount in order to make a video. So I'm going to put these in the guitar, but I do want to make a sound comparison against the original stock humbuckers. So that's going to be a video coming up, probably like I said, next. But there are also other things, for example, like the tailpiece holes. There was a tailpiece here before the Bigsby was installed. Darkening the fretboard, the headstock is a big thing. I had to reshape it, put a veneer on, not one that I bought or purchased, but one that I made myself. I did have to re-drill the holes, which I don't even own a drill press. So all these things are possibilities, but please let me know down in the comments below what you would prefer to see next. Okay, that's enough background. Let's get into it. All right, it's been a while since I've done any work on this project. It's actually been about a month and a half. Just got busy with other things, but here I am, and I need to take the finish off the sides and the back of the neck. I have the guitar obviously sitting up on its side in the jig here, but what I did get to hopefully help hold this in place is a pool noodle. It is full length, as you can see. Got it from, I think, Target for a couple of dollars, maybe $5 at the most. It's about 2.5 inches in diameter on the outside, but thankfully it's about 3/4 of an inch on the inside, which means it's going to fit perfectly over my dowels here. So I'm going to cut this into some sections and put it over those, like so it'll be, you know, on either side of the guitar, and sort of sandwich it in, give it a good snug fit so that I can work on the top or the top of the side, maybe even get down to this end and as far as I can get like that. I'll probably just lay the guitar flat for the back of the neck, but for whatever reason, I want to get started on these sides. But you can see, like right now, it's just pretty wobbly in here, and I might be able to hold it still, but I think using the pool noodle is going to help out. So I also had the idea of just sitting down with the guitar like between my legs and holding it between my knees, but I haven't tried it yet, but that is an idea. Obviously don't want to burn my legs with the heat gun while I'm doing that. Also really quick, the headstock is, you know, hitting the table, resting there. I'm not really worried about it because I've done the dimensions, and I'm going to cut this down to the Gibson shape, and in doing so, I'm basically going to have to chop off these sides, at least a little bit of it. I'm going to have to take the polyurethane off regardless anyway, so like I said, I'm not too worried about this getting scratched up. And honestly, this top piece is just a piece of vinyl or plastic, so it's not gonna really do anything. And furthermore, I can take something soft, like a cloth or whatever, and stick it under here if I need to as well. So, like I said, I'm gonna get started on sandwiching this together and seeing how it goes. Okay, here's the setup. I've got the pool noodles on the dowels, and I just cut it with a hacksaw. As you can see here, you could probably use a steak knife or something similar if you're gonna do anything like this. But here's, again, a bird's eye view, and it's pretty snug in there. I've got it kind of sandwiching the neck and the neck joint on this side, and of course the tail end down here, but it's pretty snug. Just kind of wiggle it around. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could knock it over or probably break the dowels off, but I think it's gonna hold and do the job enough for me to heat and scrape the sides here. And I'll try to show that as best I can. Hopefully I can get a good shot of it and in focus. Okay, here goes nothing. All right, honestly, this isn't going great. The heat, I think, is too much. It's kind of melting or softening the binding quite a bit. Maybe I can zoom in here. So you can see it's just kind of textured, and where the body meets the binding, it's got a little bit of a flow to it. So, and then over here, like I've kind of chunked out some of the binding. So what I think I'm gonna do, or at least try, saw this on an offset guitar forum. Somebody used a chisel and low heat and did this on a casino, I think. So I'm gonna try this with low heat and see how it goes. If it doesn't go well or continues to go like this, I may just resort to sanding, or at least trying to sand off the sides. So that's where I'm at now. Probably isn't the best place to start here in this downward valley of a crevice, but I'm just gonna kind of go at it, see what happens. All right, what I'm gonna do is start up here so I can use my good hand, my right hand, and maybe get used to this before I move on to any hard spots. So let's do that. See if we can get it started with this guy and then move to the chisel. boy. Yeah, I don't think that's good. So I feel like I got a little bit of almost warpage there. But otherwise, I think the key is to use low heat and to keep it moving, because over here, I feel like it did a lot better. And honestly, if some of the sanding sealer's left on the binding, I'm not sure that I really care. I'd rather just sand that down smooth, and then I'm not really too concerned about that. I'd rather protect the integrity of the binding. So I'm gonna go again with some low heat, maybe the chisel, and see how we go. I was thinking maybe if I heat it up and then take the heat gun away, get it soft, and then work at it. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if this is gonna work. You know, I keep running the risk and actually going into the binding, making little cuts like that, little divots. You can see that on the camera. I think you can. With my acetone and extra binding, I think I'm able to repair any of these and smooth out with sanding any spot that's bad, hopefully. But I think what I'm gonna try to do is get my orbital sander and just see what it's like sanding with maybe 100 grit sandpaper, or I don't think I have any 80, but maybe something even that coarse, and just see how long it takes to eat through this stuff. Because that might just be my best bet, other than, you know, as opposed to trying to or running the risk of damaging the binding. So, well, let me try that method. Okay, I've got my orbital sander here, 100 grit sandpaper. Let's see what happens. Well, looky there. We are through the clear coat. I'm sorry, the color coat. So maybe this won't take that long. What I don't want to do is round over the edges. So I think my best bet is to go this way, and I can keep my eye on it this way, so I'm not going, you know, cattywampus, whatever term you want to use there, just not getting off kilter. But it seems to be promising. It might take a while, but I think I like my chances with this better than melting the binding. All right, it's hard to tell exactly what layers we're through. I think I'm down to the binding right there, and then maybe the sanding sealer. I don't know if you can tell the difference in the colors right there. Maybe I can zoom in. So right here, see on the outside edge where my finger is, it's a little bit whiter color. And then on a little bit towards this way, it's some more ivory. And I think that's sanding sealer left. And then there's still some, like, keep using the word divots, but there's still some like indentions, some low spots where things are collecting. But like I said, I think I like my chances with this better than the other method. I'm gonna keep going a little while and longer, see if I can get the feel of it and see if I like this better. Kind of licking my fingers here and see what I can tell, kind of what layers we're through. I suppose over here is where I was still using my chisel and stuff, so maybe that's where some of these marks came from. But over here seems relatively smooth and unaltered. So we keep going. Just trying to clean off some of that stuff I did with the chisel over here. Seems to be going better, smoother. You can tell this is really white over here still, so I think I'm not even down clear to the binding over here yet, so that might take a little bit more time. making it happen here. We're making it happen. Okay, still got some color here. I think I'm getting down to the binding slowly but surely. In all actuality, I almost wish I would have started with this and just kept this color on the binding. But now that I've got this exposed, more white, I feel like I have to go down to the binding all the way on the whole thing. I'm trying to think, I don't know of a way around that necessarily, so might be my only choice. Yeah, I think I'm getting down to the binding itself right here. So seems like this is gonna have to be my method for sure. At this point, I've got about half of the sides done. So from about the bottom end of the guitar up to the horn over here. And I wanted to bring attention while I'm at it to this part here. This really gives you an idea of, hopefully you can see it, of the thickness of the polyurethane. When I was putting on the Bigsby, installing it, I wasn't super careful and I just chipped out some of these spots, obviously, and you can see, yeah, it gives you a good indication of the thickness of the polyurethane on the clear coats. And I do need to address this part here. I lost a screw in the wood, I had to dig it out, make a larger hole, pull it out with some needle nose pliers, and then dowel it, re-drill it, all that stuff. So I didn't do the cleanest of jobs then either, but there's a little bit of a gap you can see around it that I need to fill in with either wood glue, wood filler, or maybe super glue. I don't know which route I'm going to take. Super glue might be the easiest to get down and wick into that little spot, but I won't really know if I've filled the whole void because obviously it's clear. So I might try wood glue. Hopefully it will fall down in there. And honestly, and I guess unfortunately, this part over here is the only part that you see once the Bigsby is installed, this bottom plate here. So I kind of need to get this right. It's not really going to be seen much, but I would like to fill that void and get this all cleaned up. But yeah, I wanted to show you that, and I wanted to show you again these chip outs so it would give you an idea of the thickness. I've decided to use super glue for this. I'm too impatient to let wood glue dry, and I'm not sure it's gonna actually fall down into that crack. So this is medium super glue. It's not the thinnest. It's also not the thickest. So, and I've got this little wick stick here. That's what you call it. The two kind of get down into that crevice, hopefully. And so I'm gonna try that, and I've got good light on it. Hopefully I can see where the super glue goes and fill all those voids. So I'm probably not gonna show that on camera, but this is what my plan is. Well, I've applied the super glue, and maybe you can see, I'll zoom in, that I feel like I've got it all covered. This part over here is actually drying already, so you can't see it as well, but I had a really good visual, and I can tell that all the voids are filled. I overfilled it just in case, and I'm gonna sand it down, obviously, but I think this is gonna work. I've done some more sanding on the sides. So basically before, I had gone on the other side, or the bottom side here of the guitar, from this horn all the way to the end of the guitar over here. And I've since gone from here about to here. I actually started right there and met on this side. So a little bit, I guess, of a false alarm on what I was saying with the thickness of the poly over here. It appears that I've chipped out some wood whenever I had the little fiasco with putting the Bigsby screws in. Basically, I just didn't use a big enough drill bit size, and I forced the screws in. They were too tight, and it just popped off, I guess, some of the layer of the wood, I suppose. So, because this is flush, and I put the super glue on here, and it feels nice and flush, even though it doesn't look like it. So I don't know, I think probably wood filler is the best for that, so I can maintain the hole. So I'll probably do that eventually. And then I want to show you one other thing, unpleasant surprise I found out. All right, here's the sort of unpleasant surprise I was talking about right here. So you can see the binding is sort of just melted and come apart, not come apart, but there's a big gap there where there wasn't before. And this is the side I started on with the chisel and the heat gun. And I don't know if you remember, but there was a part there where I got worried, and that is the spot. You can basically see through that. So thankfully it didn't just totally separate, and I think I can use my spare binding and acetone trick to fill that in. I hope. I'm not too worried about it. I mean, it does suck, but I don't think it's irreparable. But wanted to be transparent about that. Like I said, I got started with the heat gun and realized that's not gonna work. So the sanding is going well. The only thing I'm worried about, as I mentioned before, is getting down to the bare binding. I don't have a good spot to show you, but I think I mentioned it before, and I'll probably talk about it again. But as it stands now, I've gotten past the color coat, but I think the sanding sealer is still on top of the binding in a lot of places on the side. And I know this is horrible lighting, but I got to figure out exactly how far to go down on the sides. More to come.